I hope everybody's New Year is just chugging along. Hope it went well. Hope that your holidays went well. All that good stuff. I've been a little bit absent this week. I haven't really been on social media much. My dad is in the hospital. I haven't heard from him a whole lot, but let's get in the comments. We've done this for a bunch of other people. Let's get in the comments and tell Rick to get better soon. Maybe text his kid back. That would be cool. And then I have a good friend of mine. His mom is also dealing with some medical stuff. So let's do a get well mom in there too. I certainly appreciate it. All the likes and everything you guys are doing, boy, it's really helping this channel a lot. So thank you so much for all that you're doing there. You know, keep liking the videos. That's about all I can ask for you. If you want to dislike it, you know, that's fine. I forgive you. It's cool. I see stuff and people that I don't like all the time. So I forgive you. Let's move on. So January, the honeymoon season that we call fall is over. It's a totally different mindset of fishing now. It's a different set of situations, circumstances, and you know, you need to have different expectations whenever you go out there. So that's what we're talking about this week is January fishing. You know, what can we do to optimize our chances? All right, let's answer some questions that are going to be in the comments. I know it's going to happen. I've seen a lot of them, answered a lot of them. This is a broken back quirky. Yes, it's a great bait. I use it. Nope. I don't have a problem with Steve Brown. Like the guy. I've known that guy for a long time. Cool guy, tons of energy. Makes a good lure. I use this lure. Yes, I do. I don't use it as much as I use the other ones because to me, in my method of fishing and how I fish, it's situational for me. I really, really like this lure this time of year when the water is really cold. And the reason I like it is it's got this little guy on it. So I can throw it out and I can kind of just drag it on the bottom and it's gonna give me action by itself without being crazy. So it's really gonna mimic a lethargic bait fish well. You know, I'll kind of just drag it and get a little pop now and then. And I don't really bend it or anything like I do the other fat boys, but it's a good lure. It's a very effective lure. I own a pile of them. I use them. They're good. I'm gonna make a video on the broken back here coming up before too long. But there's your answer. Yes, throw broken backs. Yes, I like them. I like Steve Brown. Cool dude. And you know, for guys that aren't aware, that's the broken back there. Come on, baby. That's the broken back, and this is the fat boy. Fat boy doesn't have any hooks on it because I've been cleaning this one up. So, you know, the size, the broken back's gonna be a little bit bigger, but it's gonna have a more lethargic action that does really well for me. But the broken back, the fat boy, and the soft Dine XL, that's what I'm throwing right now. This one's kind of messed up. It's been pulled on by a trout or two. That's what I'm throwing right now. I'm throwing the 5.5 inch DOA jerk shads. I'm throwing Bass Assassins. I'm throwing Kelly Wigglers. I'm throwing a lot of big plastics right now. Those DOAs, they have a little bit bigger of a profile that I really like, and they're a little bit more buoyant because of it in there. But I wanted to address that quick right off the bat. Broken backs, fat boys, soft dines, big plastics. It's pretty much what I'm throwing this year. Whenever I do these monthly videos, I always call Captain Pat, and he and I bounce ideas off each other and put this together. So I don't want to take full credit for these videos. You know, Captain Pat Gardner, he has a big part of it. We spend time on the phone. We put our minds together. It actually encourages me greatly whenever what I've came up with is like, well, you know, that's what I would have said, man. But let's add this and this and this. So big thanks to Captain Pat Gardner out there for you know, helping me come up with this, especially right now. The guy is completely wicked all year long, but waiting for big trout is something to see. So January, it can be tougher. It can be grindier, but whenever you find those fish, your chances of having a good day and the fact that you caught several big fish are there. You hear a lot from big trout fishermen talking about how they really like to fish for big trout in the winter and so forth and so on. That's because in the wintertime, the fish are going into survival mode, and they're becoming a lot more predictable in their patterns, where they're gonna be, stuff like that. The reason they are is, when it gets cold, then they're going to be looking for that mud and shell. They're going to be looking for that deeper water. You'd be surprised how many of you have actually thrown at big fish. Maybe you haven't caught one yet or caught what you're looking for yet, but you'd be surprised at how many you've thrown at and they were there, they just didn't eat. That's where the game changes this time of year, is whenever you find bait and mud and shell and some stuff we're going to talk about in just a little bit, then it becomes a when was that bite window? Maybe you threw at them for 2 hours, but maybe they ate 10 minutes after you left or 10 minutes before you got there, stuff like that. So it can be grindy, but the fish, they get a little bit more grouped up. So when you do find them and they do eat, you have a better chance at a good day. This time of year, being patient can really pay off. I've told the story multiple times about, I went out there, fished daylight until 1, didn't catch anything, but the water was good, the movement was good, there was a lot of bait there. I stayed there and, did without a fish for a long time, but then from 2 until dark, it was lights out. And that's happened multiple times now, to where just being patient and being there for that bite window, even though there were fish there, or maybe if they weren't there yet, it was the kind of situation where they were gonna slide up there eventually, and just being there when it happened. That's a huge key right now. January, February, it's a huge key is to, when you find what you're looking for, you might wanna sit on it and work on it. If you're out there fishing and everything looks good, you're not getting a bite, maybe go back to the boat, have a drink, have a sandwich, check when the tide's supposed to swap, check whenever the majors and the minors are, all those little pieces we talk about. If you get back to the boat and the major's starting in 20 minutes or the tide's gonna flop, or, hallelujah, both of them are happening at the same time. Well, that lets you say to yourself, maybe it's time to get out there and grind on this. Give it a full hour of not catching a fish, just to see if something happens, because the odds of you leaving a spot that's got that much action and then moving somewhere else, they're not as good this time of year. When you find that water, you find that bait, try to use it to its max potential. But speaking of bait, so you get into a spot, and this time of year, I'm expecting less bait. It's not summertime where there's bait just flopping around and flying everywhere. If I go in there and there's 3 or 4 pieces of bait, then that's something that gets me excited and makes me want to stay there, especially if we've got some green water, or if that bait's on top of some mud and shell or something like that. Really pay attention to your water temperatures in your boat. So if you have access to a GPS with a thermometer on it, then pay attention to that. Whenever you go somewhere it's 50 degrees, then you go down the shoreline a little bit and it's 54, that's huge. That is huge to a cold-blooded animal, such as a fish. So, and it can often be the difference between catching fish and not catching fish. If that water's warmer and there's bait in it, keep stacking up those pieces of the puzzle. That's what you're there for. So often to find that water that's a little bit warmer, we're gonna be fishing, drop-offs in deeper water during a cold spell. Especially if you can find a deeper spot that got some mud and shell, or maybe, you're flat and then you have an adjacent drop-off out into the bay, stuff like that. Maybe a deep gut coming out of a cove. Whenever that front has passed and the water is warming, the sun is out, maybe the ambient temperature is warmer, then we're gonna move up on the flats. We're gonna try to find those fish sunning themselves on the flats. If you know where some flats are that have, a sandy flats, but then there's a deeper spot in there somewhere. And by deeper, I'm not talking about 3 foot deeper. It could be 6 inches, 8 inches deeper, but it's got mud and shell in a deeper spot with sand out in the front of it or behind it or whatever. That'd be a great area to look at and look for where trout or bait is at. Whenever you find bait this time of year, it's a simple recipe for survival, guys. The predators, whether it, okay, so whenever you're in Africa or you're watching a video about Africa and there's all the gazelles and stuff out on the plains, but there's lions laying around the edge of them. Those lions aren't running out there and eating them, but they're close to them. And the reason being is, by nature, a predator is not going to let its prey get a long ways away from it. So when it is time to eat, they have to go out and look all over the place and hunt for it and search for it. That's just not how nature works. So if you find bait, quite often the predator fish are around it somewhere. They may not be running through it, eating it right now, but they're somewhere around there. And that's where I get to the point of, when you find the bait and you find the maybe a little bit warmer water, or the water movement, or whatever it is, when you find that, sometimes it's worth fishing it without catching a fish for a while, because if you're still fishing when those fish move in to eat, well, then you're setting yourself up for a much better chance of success. And I mean, I learned that in like freshman year biology. I bet I was a biology nerd. I loved that stuff. And I think that might be why I like fishing. I'm a science geek, believe it or not. Now this time of year, the water can get clear real quick on you. Boom, it can get gin clear in a second. And I'm talking about the middle coast here whenever I address this, but it can get clear on you in a second, where you can pull up close to a shoreline and you can see 2 or 3 foot deep. I don't love fishing that as much as I do green water or a little bit dirtier water. Now, if you're in Mansfield or Puerto Cana or Florida or somewhere that's got really clean water, but it's got grass in it too, and there's bait in that grass, totally different story. Fish it to your heart's desire. I'm more talking about where I'm at, what I'm doing, and that we have mud flats with some shell if we're lucky. So there's not a whole lot of ambush points for ambush predators, right? So if I get on that flat and there's no bait, there's no anything, I might stay on that flat. I'm not fishing the clear water as much as I am. The reason I came to that flat in the first place is there's a streak of green water or dirty water or something around it. If there's bait in that, then I'm fishing that. The trout and redfish, flounder even, I think, they like to have water that's a little bit off color, so they have something to hide in. So super clear water, I'm not messing with it a whole lot. But if that super clear water has a line of green water or dirty water, then that's getting my attention again, especially if there's some bait flipping around in it. This time of year, I'm looking for 4, 5, 6, 7 inch mullet. I know big trout eat big mullet, but if all I'm seeing are the great big horse mullet, then I'm not going to be as interested as if I'm seeing that smaller stuff flipping around. All right, so what day is it worth calling into the boss, lying to him, telling your wife the truth, all that stuff? What would I really go for in the month of January? Prefrontal. We've heard it a million times. If it's a prefrontal day to where that front's coming in after lunch, at dark, something like that, where I've got some time to get out there, find some bait, find where I think some fish are at, then I'm gonna be very interested in that day. If the front's already been through, and if it is 3 or 4 days after that front and we're on a warming trend, then I'm really gonna be into that. Now, to hedge our bets even more, if I've got a new moon on either of those, great. Or if it's a couple days leading into the full moon, great. I don't like the back of a full moon as much. Pat and I fished Sunday and Monday, and Saturday and Sunday, and it was really grindy. There was a couple days after a front, a couple days after the full moon. It wasn't that great. But then Monday and Tuesday rolled around, and it was just lights out. Same areas, same bait, same everything. It was just the difference in the environmental conditions there. So those are the days that I would get really interested in and take a hard look at maybe taking a day of vacation to go try to catch a big fish. I wish everybody a happy 2021. Thank you so much for all the support. Thank you for helping the channel grow. Go out, catch you a big old fat fish. As y'all know, I'm completely behind you. I'm rooting for you. Go catch a big one. If you use this stuff, let me know, and we will catch you on the next one.